I'm a homeschooling mom and business owner at As We Walk Along the Road. And I want to share an awesome science resource with you today. So tell me if this has happened to you before, Mama. You have a high school student who is taking a science lab class to meet a requirement for graduation. And they're taking this class independently, not with any other students or teachers. And this might be a video class, or it could be a textbook where they're learning material and then having labs that they're supposed to complete along the way. And your student comes to you and they're like, okay, Mom, it's time for this next lab, but do I really have to do it? Can I just watch the video? Do we really have all these materials? I can't find something that I need. I'm not sure how to do this. I'm not sure how to write this lab report. Can you help me? Have you ever had this experience? Because I have. And I'm not an expert science teacher, so I do try to help my students through the lab. I try to follow the instructions and help them follow the instructions, but it can be really hard. Now, I contrast that with a science club that we were part of when my kids were middle school age. We met with a couple of other homeschooling families twice a month, and we did science labs together. We had a mom who was responsible for gathering all the materials and planning out the activity. The kids worked together. They were able to bounce ideas off each other. It was so much more fun, and they didn't try to get out of the activity. We had 3 moms working together, so with all 3 of us, we could usually figure out what was going on in the lab, even if one of us had a little bit of trouble. And it was just a much more fun and pleasant experience, and the kids learned so much by having this opportunity to have an in-person lab group that went along with their science curriculum. So if you've had that struggle with high school science and you aren't sure what could possibly help, maybe you've had a student who's working through a science class independently, and you're just really struggling with this whole science lab requirements. Let me tell you 5 reasons why having an in-person science class can really help with these high school lab requirements. And then I'm going to share a resource that can help you to find these in-person opportunities for your high school students for their science labs. So first, in-person classes can have a teacher who's actually an expert in the topic. I admit that I am not a science person at heart. I love science as a homeschool mom, and I have learned so much. But sometimes with these high school lab classes, I struggle. And when we've had the opportunity to be part of an in-person group, it's easier to find a teacher who is an expert in the topic and who my kids can really learn from. Another reason that having an in-person group to carry out these high school science lab requirements is because all of the materials are going to be much more easily accessible and ready for students to use. When I have had one student who's working through a course independently, I have to struggle to remember, did I get everything on the list for this week? Is it out where they can find it easily? In contrast, when we've had the experience to be with an in-person group, we have all the materials laid out for all of the students. Everything is just a little bit easier to access, and we don't have to scramble to find materials every time there's a lab. Another great benefit is that in-person groups allow your student to learn from other students. Not every student is going to be thrilled and excited about science, and not every student is going to be great at understanding all of the science concepts all of the time. But when students meet in a group, they have the opportunity to be with other kids, and they can really learn something from other members of their group by carrying out activities together. Students who get to meet in person also often have a much better time. And I know that school doesn't always have to be all about fun, but one of the benefits of homeschooling is that we can make learning more exciting for kids. It doesn't have to always be dry or just something to plod through to check off on your list. And when students can meet in person with a group and do science activities together, this can make their science time much more fun and enjoyable. And as a result, they're going to learn more from it. And the last benefit is that when you meet in an in-person class, that class can be a lot more focused and students can get things done in a shorter time. I know that when we were meeting with our science club, we met twice a month. And in that time, my kids were learning more in those hours that we met together with the other students than they would learn sometimes all week from reading through and doing the lessons in their science textbook. So in-person classes give kids the opportunity to learn things in a shorter, compressed block of time. So if you know the benefits of having these in-person opportunities to meet the high school science lab requirements, let me tell you about a great resource that can help you do this. College Prep Science has in-person opportunities for high school science classes. Now, these opportunities are week-long camps where students actually go to an in-person camp and they are immersed all week into the topic. They're learning from an expert teacher, Greg Landry, who is a homeschooled dad and a former college professor, and they're learning with other students. They're having the opportunity to do all kinds of different science labs together so that they can learn from each other as well and practice their problem-solving skills. And they're having the opportunity to really get excited about the topic that they're learning. So College Prep Science currently has 2 different in-person camps that they offer. One of these is a marine science camp, and it's located in Dauphin Island, Alabama. And so kids have an environment where they can be immersed into learning all about marine science. They can do labs, they can go on location and do activities. There's also a medical science camp that is great for any kind of student who is going to go into a pre-med field. Maybe they're looking at being a doctor or nurse or veterinarian. And the medical science camp meets in Nashville, Tennessee. And again, students are going to be immersed in a week-long program where they're going to have the opportunity to learn from Greg Landry, as well as to do all kinds of activities and experiments that go along with medical science. If you're interested in checking out some of these in-person science camp opportunities from College Prep Science, check out the link in this video description or in the post that you are reading to head over to College Prep Science and learn more about either the Marine Science Camp or the Pre-Med Science Camp, and find out how you can get your student involved today.